Salute to everybody in the building, man. It appears as as one of the troops that was popped in DC, guys. The female officer has passed away, guys. As announced by Trump. It's crazy. Check it out. To double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. It most definitely helps out the channel. Thank y'all in advance. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new to the channel. This is the latest and breaking updates involving the two service members, the troops that were shot in the head, guys, in D.C., only blocks away from the White House, guys. The female officer has passed away, which is potential for the suspects. Say one of the two National Guard members popped in targeted ambush shooting Wednesday afternoon, blocks from the White House, has died. Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, passed away from her wounds, guys. A little bit on what they're reporting on right now. Guys, Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, female service member, has passed away, guys. Very sad, man. Very, very sad, guys. Wow.
I'm Shauna Kalafi. We want to take you straight out to Webster Springs, West Virginia, where
West Virginia, they held a press conference, guys, a visual, basically for Sarah, guys. Very sad. Continue to double tap that screen, most definitely. That's how you hit that like button, or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new, man.
A vigil for 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom has just started. She is one of the victims of the shooting in D.C. on Wednesday, the other victim in critical condition. Let's listen. This is live.
I'll introduce Senator Morris.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight to honor the life of Sarah Beckstrom and pray for Andrew Wolf, who continues to fight for his life tonight. A tragedy like this
prayer hands
is
in the chat, guys,
to comprehend. The loss that we are all feeling, the anger, the devastation, it's a lot. There's never a good time for something like this to happen, but it seems to hit harder around the holidays. I want everyone to know that it's okay to not be okay. As you grieve, as you mourn, as you process, please reach out for help, friends, family. There are services represented here tonight that would be happy to talk with you. Everything that I have read and heard from people I've talked to about Sarah, just an outstanding person, an outstanding West Virginian. West Virginia has always answered the call when the country has needed our citizens. Sarah was no different. Graduating high school just 2 years ago, joining the National Guard, serving her country. From the people that I've talked to, nobody is surprised that she volunteered to serve through the holidays so that others could be home with their families. Leader, kind, compassionate, words that are used to describe Sarah. I want you to know that the state of West Virginia is behind the Beckstrom family and the Wolf family, their fellow guardsmen. We have been praying since the news broke, and we will continue to pray for the days, weeks, months, and years to come. Tonight is a symbol of what West Virginians do, both in triumph and tragedy. We come together to support one another. We come together to grieve and to mourn. We all have a lot of questions, and those will, come in due time. I had a conversation last night with my two daughters asking why. How could something like this happen? And those are difficult conversations to have with anybody, but especially our children. But I just emphasized how Sarah sacrificed her life for the safety and security of the citizens and our country, our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And there's no greater sacrifice one can make to lay down their life for that of another. I ask that you continue to pray for the Beckstrom family, pray for the Wolf family, pray for their family and their friends, their fellow guardsmen, and the people of this nation who are hurting tonight, who are grieving this unimaginable loss. I pray that God comforts them in their hour of need and helps them to process this
Thank you, Joronda.
over the next.
She says, thank you,
long while.
Jesus, for our officers.
You know,
Absolutely.
we just came off the Veterans Day holiday, and it's such an honor to represent the 11th Senatorial District and go to the different events around our communities and represent an area of a state that loves our veterans, appreciates their service and their sacrifice. Sarah was a tremendous part of that community, a life gone way too soon, an absolutely senseless act of evil and violence. May God bless her. May God bless Andrew Wolf. May God bless their families. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you. I would now like to invite my co-senator, Bill Hamilton, up to the podium.
Very sad situation,
As
guys.
you're all
Very
aware,
sad.
this is a very, very sad day. I pray for her family. I pray for you all, her neighbors, her friends,
20 years old,
That
guys.
you find
20
peace.
years old.
with this tragedy. I told Senator Morris that I'm not the best biblical expert, and I double-checked with Senator Vince Deeds, who also doubles as a Baptist minister, and I said, is John 15,
Thank you,
13 an
Isaac.
appropriate verse to read tonight? And the New King James Version, greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for your friends. She's done that. I pray for the family, and I pray for you all, and your family too. Every one of us. I thank you for allowing me to speak, and peace be with you all.
Sarah Beckstrom, guys. The female National Guard troop that
I
was
would now like to introduce
unalived
Justin
in
Arbonne,
DC, guys. This is her vigil.
representative of Governor Patrick Morrison.
Good evening. My name is Justin Arbonne, and before I read a statement from the governor, I do want to say I am so sorry for the loss in your community. I know this is a strong and tight-knit community. On the back end of that, I know you're going to come together and comfort each other and pull each other through this, and I am excited to see that part of it for you. I know right now it's a tough time. I can't imagine. So let me, without further ado, the governor's been in D.C. With the families, and he was there as of 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, so that's why he couldn't make it tonight. But I do want to read a prepared statement that he sent to me to read to you. We gather with heavy hearts to honor the life of Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, a proud West Virginian and devoted member of our National Guard. Earlier today, I issued a formal proclamation asking every West Virginian to observe a moment of silence and lowered flags to half-staff in recognition of Sarah. Specialist Beckstrom lived and served in the true spirit of West Virginia, steady under pressure, loyal to her fellow guardsmen, and always putting the safety of others before her own. That spirit runs deep in our state, and it shaped who she was, and it will carry her memory forward for generations. To her family, her friends, and her brothers and sisters in uniform, West Virginia stands with you. We grieve with you, and we will never forget her service or her sacrifice. May God bless Specialist Beckstrom, may bring peace and comfort to all who loved her, and may we honor her life by striving to show even a fraction of the courage that she displayed every day. Thank you.
I would like to welcome Jimmy Utt. He's going to say a prayer for tonight.
Let us pray. But Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, Lord, we have heavy hearts tonight, Father, but we just pray that you just pass by each of us tonight. Bring us peace and joy and love that Sarah had. Father, we pray, Lord God, that in the coming days and months that you're just help us to strive to be like her. She had so much love to give. Father, we pray also for Andrew. We pray that you be with him and his family, Lord, as he still recovers in the hospital, Lord. We just pray that you be with those of us, Lord, that you just be with us, Father, and as we pray for our world national leaders, as the decisions has been made in the coming days and weeks. Father, we just pray that you just be with us for the remainder of this time. In Christ's name, amen.
On behalf of the Webster County Veterans Auxiliary, we thank everybody for coming and thank everybody for doing the right thing, showing up. We had a crowd last night. We have a crowd tonight. We have a crowd tomorrow night, hopefully. Tomorrow night will be at 6 o'clock at Webster County High School. And we hope that this helps ease the grieving, ease the hearts of everybody in this town. Losing somebody is hard enough. Going through it alone, we don't do that here.
Two. A
We
male and
grieve
a
as a
female.
community. So we're going to pass out some candles. We hope everybody can share. We are limited in those, and then we will light them and have a moment of silence.
Sad, guys. Years old, guys.
Amazing grace, how
Thank you, Flip Mode.
that saved a
Thank you.
wretch like me. I 2,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We know last days to sing God's praise. Then when
Thank you, Flomo.
we first begun. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
At this time, we ask that you join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Please remember, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Webster County High School, we will be hosting another vigil, and we
Sad, guys. That was the visual for Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, the female National Guard troop that was unalive at the hands of a madman. It's crazy, guys.
Two National Guard troops in our nation's capital. The president confirmed yesterday that 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has died. The other Guard member, Andrew Wolf, is, quote, fighting for his life. This morning, U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro expressed hope Wolf could still recover and said charges are being upgraded for the suspect.
There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. The other guardsman, of course, we still have hope. He's still in critical condition.
And take a look at this. CBS News has obtained this new photo of the suspect. It was apparently taken the day he entered the U.S. CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga joins us from Washington. Nicole, you've been following this. Get us up to speed on the latest developments. What are you learning?
Yeah, Tom, officials confirm that the suspect spent roughly 8 years in a CIA-backed zero-unit operation
CIA, guys.
fleeing Taliban threat. A CIA-backed zero-unit operation before fleeing Taliban threats in the eastern region of Afghanistan, a region known as Khost. His former badge reveals that the suspect was assigned to what's known as Kandahar Strike Force, or 03 unit, the 03 unit that he was a part of. It's an Afghan intelligence unit and paramilitary
This is on the suspect,
force
guys.
that worked with the CIA, and those units are often labeled by human rights groups as death squads. They see a tremendous amount of violence. The suspect later relocated to Kabul before entering the U.S. in Washington state under Operation Allies Welcome. Now, the FBI has interviewed relatives, including his brother, the suspect's brother in San Diego. All of the family has described themselves as stunned, according to sources that CBS News has been speaking with. The revolver that was used in the attack, according to U.S. officials, was not registered to the suspect and was traced back to a deceased resident in Washington state. U.S. intelligence teams right now, the FBI, are trying to comb through the suspect's digital footprint for signs of any sort of foreign direction or radicalization. But so far, these sort of preliminary looks show no confirmed links to extremist groups or international handlers of any kind. Of course, this investigation is ongoing. We heard from former Afghan Special Operations Commander Lieutenant General Sami Sadat, who told our CBS News colleagues in London that the suspect was known as a disciplined anti-Taliban operator. He had a clean record, but he did note that he struggled with PTSD And Afghan officials and U.S. officials who have been briefed on the investigation say the suspect was disturbed by some of the violence that he had witnessed throughout his career and the recent death of a friend overseas. Authorities are still examining why he traveled nearly 2,800 miles driving cross country with only a few rounds, a detail they call really unusual and sort of unexplained so far. Sources say the suspect was initially uncooperative. He's now ventilated at a D.C. area hospital, not very responsive.
He's on life support,
some of
guys.
the efforts to
The
interview him,
suspect is
Tom.
on life
And officials
support.
have also identified some degree of paranoia that he had, a fear of deportation. It's unclear if there were any red flags that would have prevented the suspect from entering into the United States, but U.S. officials tell us that wartime vetting that the suspect would have undergone before working with the CIA was designed more specifically to prevent insider attacks on U.S. troops and not serve as a sort of long-term clearinghouse for immigration. We know that Army specialist Sarah Beckstrom did pass away yesterday, succumbing to her injuries. There was a procession in Washington, D.C. last night, National Guard lining the streets from the hospital to the office of the chief medical examiner. And we do expect a funeral for her in the coming days. As you mentioned, Andrew Wolf, 24-year-old member of West Virginia's National Guard, remains in the hospital in critical condition. And as the U.S. attorney mentioned there, a lot of prayers going out to him. He's surrounded now by family and friends.
Nicole Scanga with some new reporting there. Nicole, we appreciate it. Thank you. President Trump says tens of thousands of other Afghans who came to the U.S. under the same program as the suspect will now be reevaluated to see if they should be sent back. He claimed he's ready to expel anyone who is, quote, not a net asset to the United States. And he threatened to end immigration from, quote, all third world countries. And CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang is in West Palm Beach for us. Weijia, what more do we know about these announcements from the president?
Well, Tom, other than what the president posted, we do not know many details. We have been asking the White House, as an example, for a list of what countries the president is talking about, how that would be different from the current travel ban that is already in effect. But, Tom, we should note that the president was extremely vocal when he did post these announcements and his ideas on Truth Social. And he really went on a tear, really probably the most severe one since he came into office as it relates.
Can we take time to double tap that screen, guys? Most definitely get those likes up. It helps out the channel. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen. If you're on another device, click those three dots in the right-hand corner. Hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new.
To immigration. He said he would permanently pause migration from all third world countries, as you mentioned, but also terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by the former president's auto pen. And to your point about expelling people, he said that he would denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility and deport any foreign national who is a public charge or security risk. Now, the president also went on to express frustration about the 50 million or so residents in the U.S. who were born in another country, saying that most of them are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. And so clearly the president has a lot to unload about this, but we are waiting for more details when it comes to how he plans to implement any of these ideas, Tom.
Weijia, we watched last night as the president held up images from the U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghanistan, obviously putting front and center the issue of vetting here for people being let into the country. The president is also facing those questions about the vetting of the suspect when he came to the U.S. What can you tell us about that?
It's going to have to be a bipartisan effort to address how to prevent this sort of thing from happening again as it relates to people who come into the country, at least because it was under two different administrations and two different presidents that this happened. As we talked about earlier, the suspect came in under the Biden administration as part of an effort to evacuate Afghans who were caught in the end of the war there, but also he was granted asylum under this administration. And our colleague, Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes, actually asked President Trump about that. Take a listen.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came into on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
Oh, wow.
And Tom, after that, somebody else pressed the president about this, about the point that the suspect was granted asylum under his administration, and he acknowledged, he said, once people are here, it's very difficult to remove them from the country. And so he didn't deny the fact that this person was allowed to stay here under the Trump administration. And it'll be really interesting to see, Tom, what changes in policy result of this, because we know that the president is extremely frustrated today.
Yeah, we know you'll be following this very closely. Weijia Jiang reporting for us from West Palm Beach.
Yeah, so a little bit more on the situation, guys. All right, so the procession, guys, of Miss Sarah Beckstrom. Escort from the hospital, guys. Make sure you take your time to double tap that screen, y'all. Get the lights up. Procession from the hospital, guys, as they moved her body from the hospital basically to the coroner's office, guys. As you can see, it was a heavy police presence, guys. Bectrum, guys, 20 years old, passed away from her injuries, guys, that she sustained in D.C. at the hands of a madman, guys. They calling him an Afghanian, the T word. Yeah, man, it's bad, guys. Such a sad situation, man. Prayers for our family, man. Prayers for our family, guys. I just wanted y'all to see that, to know how real it was, how real it is, man. Very, very tragic situation, guys. Real talk. Oh my goodness. Prayers for her. She was only 20 years old, guys, a baby. Life ended way too soon.
Fox News alert. The State Department now hitting pause on issuing visas to all travelers with Afghan passports in the wake of the deadly National Guard attack in D.C.
This, as one top intelligence officer reveals, the suspect was not vetted for entry into the U.S.
Madeline Rivera joins us now from Washington, D.C. with the latest. Maddie.
Hi, good morning. President Trump is doubling down on immigration crackdown after this shooting regarding pausing visas for travelers with Afghan.
As a result, Trump has got even tougher on the people with visas, especially the ones coming from like Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia and things of that nature. He has put a pause on the visas, guys.
Passports. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says in part, the United States has no higher priority than protecting our nation and our people. This comes on the heels of the president saying he's pausing all migration from third world countries. The administration is also re-examining green cards from countries they've deemed as causes for concern, and they're pausing all asylum decisions as well. Authorities say the suspect, 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal, worked with the CIA in Afghanistan as part of an elite Afghanistan counterterrorism force. The head of the National Counterterrorism Center says Lakhanwal was vetted by the intelligence community. But he adds Lakhanwal was only vetted to serve as a soldier to fight against U.S. enemy forces in Afghanistan and not for his suitability to come to America. And he adds that was the vetting standard the Biden administration used during the Afghanistan withdrawal, which we should note. The suspect was also screened before coming to the U.S., before being granted asylum earlier this year, rather. The feds say they want to see the death penalty for Lakhanwal.
She volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree.
Meantime, a heartbreaking post from 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom's father, the National Guard member who passed on Thanksgiving. Gary Beckstrom saying on Facebook, "My baby girl has passed to glory. If I don't talk to you, don't be offended. This has been a horrible tragedy." Service members lined the street of D.C. for Beckstrom's dignified transfer procession.
Which I just showed y'all.
24-year-old Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. Guys, back to you.
Maddie, thank you.
Thanks, Maddie. Joe Kent made a very, very important point about the fact that the shooter was part of this unit that was fighting in Kandahar, working with the CIA, working for the CIA.
Working with the CIA, that's so crazy,
in order
y'all.
to work with that group, not vetted to come into the United States.
It's such a great point.
And that's a crucial distinction.
In fact, so Joe Kent is the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, and I was just thinking exactly the same thing, Charlie. He literally...
Hey, guys, we should have over 300-400 likes by now. Double tap that screen. If you have not hit the like button, that's how you hit it. Or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. What's hard about that, guys? Support the channel. It most definitely helps out the channel for everybody viewing to hit the like button, man. You know, and subscribe to the channel if you are new, man. Continue to get those likes up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. I'm giving you everything that I know on the situation, you know, from the channels that I frequent, you know, that's been talking about it. If you don't mind, get those likes up, guys.
It is true that the terrorist who conducted the attack in D.C. was vetted by the intelligence community. However, he was only vetted to serve as a soldier to fight. He was not vetted for his suitability to come to America.
And just to remind viewers of his heartbreaking loss, he lost his wife, Shannon Kent, as he wrote about in his book, Send Me, over there in Afghanistan, and the loss that he has suffered because of the ultimate sacrifice of his late wife is just tremendous, and the heartbreak that he has suffered, the clarity with which he has viewed terrorism in this region for so long. I trust everything that he says, and obviously there's a reason President Trump put him in that position as director of counterterrorism. But it's just heartbreaking because if this indeed.
Let me help you out, West Tone. I don't think I've seen a lower level viewer before who decided to type some nonsense in my chat. No, Bobby, no. Block him. He just got deported. He don't got a green card anyway. You know, his IQ is very low. It was stupid of you to type that in the chat, dummy.
As we, by all intents and purposes at this point, realize that this has been completely preventable.
Right.
And we know exactly the source of where that's from. And as we've been speaking about, the mainstream media for some reason says, well, this president is declaring without evidence that it's due to the failures of the vetting process, that either vetting for a different purpose or no vetting at all. The evidence is the death here of Sarah Beckstrom. The evidence here is the dozens of thousands of refugees that are in this country from that particular origin without knowing whatsoever, not only their real identities, but whether indeed they pose a threat to the United States. And now there's another grief, another family shattered at a loss that was preventable because of the hands of evil, just like Shannon Kent, just like Sarah Beckstrom.
Yeah. And of course, Democrats are wasting no time whatsoever trying to make political hay out of this. But I have to say that I think that it's kind of a dangerous, slippery slope for them to try to make this argument that that this is all Donald Trump's fault because he deployed them on the streets of the United States.
A lot of people are blaming Trump,
the argument, well, they had it coming because the president had them in the streets. No, this is completely unacceptable. But of course, Democrats don't care about that because anything to go after Trump. Here's Debbie Wasserman Schultz talking about that.
Why wasn't the president's first thought, wow, maybe I should reconsider deploying military troops in the nation's capital or in any city? I just think, the president looks everywhere except inward to blame his own policies. It's never the president's fault or his policies when it comes to his reaction, and it's pretty disgusting.
First of all, the use of the word disgusting is so intellectually lazy, and it's tragic coming from someone who holds the office representing Americans and serving others. And the notion that she is ascribing blame on the president, who put with his priority American safety, the National Guard in Washington, D.C., these brave men and women who sign up, who wear the uniform for the flag, for our freedoms, and for the purpose of preserving and protecting Americans' freedoms and safety. That is exactly what they were doing. And this, by the way, doesn't prove her point because they were...
Edwin, if you didn't subscribe to my channel, what's wrong with you? Don't worry about what I do. Worry about what you do. That's your problem. You worry about what everybody else do. Worry about yourself. Don't worry about me. Don't talk to me. Comment on the stuff on the screen. I ain't on your screen. Don't talk to me.
The victim,
thank you, Ms. D,
as we think thus far allegedly, of terrorism. So the point about DC has no bearing on this whatsoever. Those National Guardsmen would be the target of this strange individual no matter what. And you put that in addition to Senator Slotkin saying that our National Guardsmen would shoot innocent Americans, or Senator Durbin that said they would terrorize Americans. The terror comes from the deranged individual. The terror comes from the terrorist. The shooting comes from this.
Josh, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm Donald Trump of this channel. I tell you what to do and what not to do. If you don't like it, go watch somewhere else before you get deported.
Person that wasn't vetted by the Biden administration, not from our brave men and women in uniform. So they're casting aspersions not only on them and their good name and their memory, but certainly the president too. That Representative Wasserman Schultz needs indeed to apologize and look in the mirror.
Meanwhile, President Trump realized the magnitude of this and has said, look, we need to go back and revet all of the people that came under Operation Allies Welcome. And you've got the New York Times with a headline about, Trump uses National Guard shooting to cast suspicion on refugees. And while it is fair to say that many of the Afghans that assisted the U.S. Armed Forces deserve to be here, the vetting is critical because the NCTC director, Joe Kent, we were just talking about, said that this case with Lochinwall is not an isolated case. There may be others.
And there's some 85,000 of the refugees from Afghanistan alone who came into the country under that program. And we're finding out that either they were not vetted at all, they were vetted for the wrong thing, or they were vetted on that that day that everyone remembers as the country collapsed and people were just piling onto the C-17s, rumbling down the runway to take off. This is the vetting that was going on that day. And we are bearing the punishment for this. And we have no idea for how long we will be bearing the punishment for the mistakes made.
And the catastrophic withdrawal this was, the fatal and cowardly, things that President Biden put us through. It not only opened the doors, Jessica Vaughn said, it wasn't Operation Allies Welcome, it was Operation Everyone Welcome. Exactly. But it also left behind actual allies.
Americans.
And to this day, correct. Yeah. So the backwards and just absolutely horrifying result of that clearly includes to this day, but it's both. We abandon our allies and we let in our enemies, and now we pay the price.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click.
All right, so that was a little bit more, guys. All right, and here goes Trump, guys, and how he feels about this entire situation. Let's check out Trump, what he had to say and what he did not say.
You ready? Everybody ready? Okay, we're all set. Start.
Are we ready? Chris, we ready? Yep, we're good. Go ahead. Is he hot? You're good, sir.
I assume we're on and everybody sees us. I see you, a lot of great looking faces. Am I correct? Everybody's on, right? If you are, wave. If you're not, just you can leave and go have turkey. Good, I think everyone's waving. Thank you very much. And I'm honored to speak with so many incredible members of the U.S. military and to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Before we begin, I want to express the anguish and the horror of our entire nation at the terrorist attack yesterday in our nation's capital, in which a savage monster gunned down 2 service members in the West Virginia National Guard,
hey, Miss Louisiana,
who were deployed as part of the D.C. task force, which has done such an incredible job. I mean, until yesterday, we literally had no incidents for many months. It was the safest place imaginable, and this is a different kind of crime. This is a really bad crime. Millions of Americans are praying for those heroes and their families, and I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beck, she's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. It's just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him. And the monster that did this is also in serious condition. But we won't even talk about him. As you may know, DHS has confirmed that the suspect is an Afghan national, flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane.
Thank you.
This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And the toughest, meanest, most capable physically got on the plane. Not the people that we were looking for or that they wanted to bring in. Here's a picture for you. Just take a look at that plane. Standing on top of each other and sitting on top of each other. This is what we had under the Biden administration. That whole thing should have never, ever happened. They should have left from a different base. They should have left from Bagram, as you know, and it would have been a much different story. But they didn't do that, and this was just a rout, just a terrible situation. This heinous atrocity reminds us that we have no greater national security priority than ensuring that we have full control over the people that enter and remain in our country. For the most part, we don't want them.
Hey guys, let's take time to get those likes up. Double tap that screen. If you have not, that's how you hit the like button, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. Let's most definitely keep those likes moving, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is Trump Take on what happened in Washington, D.C. with the unaliving of one female troop and a serious injury that left the other male troop fighting for his life, guys. The gunman is right now on life support. It's up in the air whether he's gonna make it or not. But this is what Trump had to say about it all, guys. Let's get those likes up. Most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new.
They come in illegally, have a lot of problems. Their countries force them in because their countries are smart. They don't want them. Let's give them to the Americans to take care of. They come out of jails in many cases, mental institutions, they're gang members, they're drug dealers. We don't want them. Many of the service members on this call today are engaged in crucial aspects of that mission. And to each and every one of you, I just want to thank you so much. Incredible people. You make this sacrifice like few others understand. A lot of them don't even understand it. And you're keeping America safe and free. Our military is strong. My first term, I rebuilt our military, all aspects of our military. And in Afghanistan, we actually gave up a big chunk, but relatively, as much as it seemed like it's small compared to what we bought and to what we have and to what we're buying. We're spending over $1 trillion this year on our military. We have a military, the best in the world. We make the best equipment in the world. And we have the best people in the world. So joining us this evening are 6 units deployed across our hemisphere, representing every branch of the United States Armed Forces. First, I want to thank the members of Army's legendary 101st Airborne Division. You know, I've heard about that since I was a little boy. The Screaming Eagles, calling in from Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And you're led by Major General David Gardner, a real tough cookie and great general. I appreciate it, General Gardner. The 101st has done an outstanding job leading the task force, joint task force at our southern border. I mean, we have nobody coming in. They're not coming in. Under Biden, they were coming in by the millions. Now we have nobody coming in. We have a strong border. Nobody talks about it anymore. I'm not giving credit for anything, just like you guys are not giving credit for anything. We do the greatest job, but that's all right. They don't talk about the border anymore because you know why? Nobody comes in. We had 9 months now where we had nobody coming in, zero. And this is being fed. This is the people that do this they tend to be on the left. They'd love to say millions of people came in through Trump, and they actually said nobody came. Even I find that hard to believe, but they literally are saying nobody came in. And I hope people appreciate the job that you've done and the job that we've all done. But we're stopping the invasion of our country. We stopped it cold. And if you remember, Biden said, I need new legislation. You didn't need legislation. I didn't get legislation. What you needed was a new president. So with your help, we now have the most secure border in American history. It's the single most secure border in American history. So I just want to thank you. And the 101st, I want to thank you very much. The job you've done is amazing, working with all of our great people. We also have the men and women of the U.S. Navy serving as part of the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group under Captain Christopher Farraker. And they're on board the USS Iwo Jima in the Caribbean Sea. Working right by their side are members of the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit led by Colonel Tom Trimble. Thank you very much. I think you waved to me because I can see you then. Let's see. Hey, you are handsome people. They're beautiful looking people. Thank you. Like Central Cat, I could put you in a movie right this second, and the three of you, and I think would have a top grossing movie. You don't have people like you in Hollywood. Part of the 22nd MEU is also serving in Puerto Rico, the 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines, Devil Dogs, led by Major Ross Gilchrist. Where is Major? Hello, Major. Another central. Is everybody central casting? It's so, like they're all handsome, tough guys. I don't know what's going on here. but the Navy Marine Corps team is currently helping to defend our country, protect our interests, and literally decimate terrorists. The job you've done is incredible. I also want to thank you for your amazing work to quickly deliver life-saving aid to Jamaica in the aftermath of the recent hurricane, which was devastating. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Major and everybody. Appreciate it. Next up are the airmen serving with one of the most feared bomber forces in the world, the U.S. Air Force's 7th Bomb Wing at Dyess Air Force Base in Texas under the auspices and leadership of Colonel Seth Spanier. Colonel, where are you, Colonel? Colonel, let's see here. You're right there. Thank you, Colonel. All of you are backbone of America, and you really are the backbone of America's air power. And in recent weeks, you've been working to deter Venezuelan drug traffickers, of which there are many. Of course, there aren't too many coming in by sea anymore, if you probably noticed that. From sending their poisons into the United States, where they kill hundreds of thousands of people a year. But we're going to take care of that situation. We're already doing a lot. We've almost stopped. It's about 85% stopped by sea. You probably noticed that. People aren't wanting to be delivering by sea. And we'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warned them, stop sending poison to our country. We also have the 18th Space Defense Squadron at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, headed by Captain Ryan Weber. Captain, where are you, Captain? Thank you very much, Captain. Great job. Every day you maintain American dominance on the high frontier. You're the guardians of one of the most important domains we have to protect, and you make us very, very proud of the job you do, Captain. Thank you. Finally, we have the great men of the Coast Guard, and I have to tell you, there are a lot of women in the Coast Guard now, too. We're happy about that. United States Coast Guard aboard the Coast Guard cutter Forrest Rednar with Lieutenant Commander Alexis Wild. Alexis, where are you? Hi, Alexis. Alexis Wild at the helm. And I'm told that just last month, the Forrest Rednar intercepted a boat with lots and lots of illegal aliens off the coast of California. It was loaded, and then turned them over to the Customs and Border Patrol, and they did it so professionally. The people were very, very impressed with the job you did, Commander, so thank you very much. It was a great job. And thank you for defending our maritime borders with skill and with pride, and the job you do. Amazing. So I want to thank all of you again for your amazing service to our country. God bless our warriors. God bless our heroes from West Virginia National Guard. What a group. I love West Virginia. And I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. We have a country that we can be very proud of. I was with the King of Saudi Arabia, and he said, you know, sir, last year you had a country that was a dead country. We thought it was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and it's true. And we're going to be having close to $20 trillion invested. That's record-setting by 10 times. Nobody's ever had anything like it. We're building plants. We're building factories, auto factories, AI plants, the whole thing with artificial intelligence. I don't know the word. I've never liked the word artificial. I don't know what artificials are. I think they ought to change the name. I've always said that's a lousy name to have, artificial anything, but it's a big business. And we're building more. We're leading China by a lot. We're leading everybody by a lot. We make the best military equipment in the world, and they're ordering it at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. But we're doing better than we've ever done before. We have the stock markets just hit for the 48th time an all-time high during the 9 months that I've been here, a little more than 9 months now. And so we have the hottest stock market ever. That's a big thing for 401ks and all of the millions of people with jobs and 401ks. Everybody participates in that. But it's 48 times in a little bit less than 10 months. 48 times we hit an all-time high. And I think we're going to continue, because when these factories that we're building from all over the world, they're coming because of tariffs. I think because of November 5th, the election result, but because of tariffs. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars like we've never done before. And some of that's going to go back in the form of a sort of dividend to our people, but much of it's going to go toward reducing debt. And what it really goes for, and even better than the money we're taking in, is the fact that nobody's attacking our companies and taking them out, stealing them like they've been for many years. Because if they do that, they have to pay a tariff as they make products and sell them into our country. So we made deals with Japan, we made deals with South Korea, we made deals with the European Union, where they pay us hundreds of billions of dollars, and they participate. They're now building plants. Honda is building plants, and they're all, every car company from all over the world virtually is building plants now in the United States because they don't want to pay the tariffs. So there's never been anything quite like it. It's been amazing. So we're taking in, think of it, hundreds of billions. Next year it'll be $1 trillion or more. But we're taking in all this money at the same time protecting our country. And we're respected again. They actually respect us. And they made the deals. I mean, they respect us, but they pay us. As an example, Japan, $650 billion. South Korea, $350 billion. European Union, $950 billion. And they are building plants now in the United States because they don't want to pay tariffs. So this is one of the biggest things economically that's never happened. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And over the next couple of years, I think we'll substantially be cutting, and maybe cutting out completely, but we'll be cutting income tax. Could be almost completely cutting it because the money we're taking in is going to be so large. And yet, other countries who have been ripping us off for many, many years, and many years they've just been ripping us to shreds. China would take in $600-700 billion a year, rebuild their military. And now we have a fair deal with China. We just met with President Xi. We have a great relationship. We have a fair deal. We take in a lot of money in the form of tariffs. But so many, even our friends, I mean, European Union, they're our friends. Japan, they're our friends. South Korea's our friends. They're now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're also paying tariffs to come in. We're not paying tariffs to go in there, by the way. They're paying tariffs, but we're not. So that's a total reversal. But we are benefiting like they used to benefit against us, but we're benefiting even more. So I just want to thank everybody for making all of this possible. And you saw that with Iran, with those beautiful B-2 bombers. They totally obliterated the potential nuclear supply of Iran. And they did it in the dark of night with no moon, no light, no nothing. Early in the morning, they attacked. You couldn't see a thing. And every single bomb hit its mark. Every single bomb. The Atomic Energy Commission said it was total obliteration. Remember when some of the fake news tried to say, well, maybe it wasn't as bad. Well, it was much worse than anybody thought. And I want to thank those pilots and all of the mechanics and all of the people that serviced and worked on the B-2 bombers. We just ordered a lot more of them. And the reason we did is they were totally incredible, totally invisible. They were stealth. Nobody saw them. They knew they were coming, but they couldn't see them.
Trump, this is Major General Dave. Yeah, let's get to some questions.
I believe it's Turkey. So, Lieutenant Colonel, if you would, you take over. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We're going to pass it over to Major General David Gardner from the United States Army.
Happy Thanksgiving, President Trump. This is Major General Dave Gardner, the commander of the 101st Airborne Division and your Joint Task Force Southern Border.
That's right.
I appreciate you saying I was tough. Everyone cheered. I assume that means they agreed with you. We are headquartered in Arizona. The service members with me today represent over 10,000 deployed along the 2,000 miles of our border from San Diego to the Gulf of America. We support Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Border Patrol, and as you said, Mr. President, illegal aliens entering our country is at a historic low thanks to our collective efforts.
Right.
On the screen behind me, you may be able to see some of the images of us patrolling, reinforcing the border wall. And
Trump
we're doing that
almost went to
24
sleep.
hours a day, 7 days a week, including today, Thanksgiving. Our soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, guardians, and Coast Guardsmen were able to have fantastic Thanksgiving meals and engage in traditional football games against each other. We're doing well. We all appreciate you taking some time from your family to speak with us today. And thank you for your support, Mr. President, and happy Thanksgiving.
Well, David, thank you very much. And one thing you said in the question or statement, probably, I like a statement even better than a question, but I like that because you appreciate what we're all doing together. We're partners. But you said the Gulf of America. And there's a thing that for actually 350 years, 100 years older than us, Mexico, it was called Gulf of Mexico. And I would say to myself, why are we calling it Gulf of Mexico when we have 92% of the frontage and they have, I'm a real estate person at heart, and they have 8%. And I made that change and it was amazing. It took literally a matter of hours and it was done. And nobody even, very rarely did they complain. We beat AP, Associated Press, very badly in a lawsuit. You know, they tried to get it stopped because they're not good Americans. I mean, who would want that stopped? But we beat them, as you saw, we beat them very badly in a lawsuit. But other than that, I mean, we had no complaints and everybody's happy with it except Mexico. I wouldn't say they're thrilled, but they'll get over it. But we now have the Gulf of America, David, the Gulf of, isn't that great? And I'm very proud of it every time I see it. And now it's spoken of routinely. I saw it before. There was some event taking place.
Thank you,
down by Louisiana, and they said, we're here at the Gulf of America. And they're just talking about it like routinely now. They're not saying like Gulf of America and smiling. It's just routine. It's called now the Gulf of America. So I'm actually very glad you brought it up. That's another one of our many achievements. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job. Please.
Sir, before we go on, do you have any questions for the president?
Thank you for the clapping hands, Purple Groovy.
Yes, Mr. President, this is Sergeant Major Anderson. I do have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you were to place a wager between the Army and Navy football game, who would you put your money on, sir?
You know, David, I think you should dock him. That's a terrible question. That's how he'll get me in so much trouble. But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll be going, you know, you have one of those teams is having a spectacular year and one of them, they're both doing well. But I'll be at the game. And I'm going to let you know right after the game who's going to win. It's going to be a good game. And you're going to be watching it. I'd love it. That's a place where we get a lot of cheers when we go in. You know, we won the military vote in the largest number ever gotten by a president, by far. Despite the lies that they said about me. You know, they make up stories and lies. They're disgusting people. But we won the military by the biggest vote in the history of our election. So I like the military, but I like the Navy and I like the Army a lot. And I'm going to be at the game. And I don't know if you're going to be there. You're pretty far away, but we'll be thinking about, you know, be thinking about that wise guy question you just asked me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, sir. With that, we're going to go over to Major Ross Gilchrist from the United States Marine Corps.
The 28th Bomb Squadron and fellow squadrons.
Love it. Chop. See, we're not allowed to do that anymore. I think it's going to go down as one of our most important, you know, as technology goes. The things we're doing now in space are unbelievable. And I think it'll be one of the truly great things that this administration.
We're currently patrolling the southwest border off of the coast.
11, you were going to build.
I'm tired of listening to Trump. I thought he was going to talk more about the situation with the two troops, guys. But he most definitely touched on it in the beginning, and he most definitely talked to the military, guys. All right, let's go here. You know, as they speak on what's going on with these two National Guard members. Back to the topic at hand. You know, shout out to everybody out there. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Most definitely get those likes up.
Beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered. And she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree.
U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, joining us just moments ago, announcing her office has upgraded the murder charge against Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, the Afghan national accused of shooting 2 National Guard members and killing 1. Let's bring in West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito. And Senator, I know that this horrific tragedy has hit your state so hard because these 2 brave individuals were from your great state. Your reaction to Jeanine Pirro's comments right there.
Well, it has been a difficult several days, and our hearts and prayers go out for the Beckstroms and also for Andrew's family as well. Losing her was a tragedy beyond belief. I agree with the district attorney that we should be pressing the ultimate charges, the death penalty for someone who has attacked our National Guard on the streets of Washington, D.C. I think that she is right on track here, and I think the American people will definitely support these charges. It's a horrific attack, a terrorist attack on our peacekeepers. Sarah and Andrew were there to keep peace in our capital city, to be a part of the presence there so that it could be safer, and they were taken down by the very thing they were trying to prevent.
And this tragedy has brought vetting of foreign nationals back into the spotlight. Here is what Jeanine Pirro had to say about that.
There was no vetting. If you think there was vetting, I have a bridge to sell you. If you saw the chaos that was going on at that airport in Kabul, in Afghanistan, it was typical of what was going on in the Biden administration. And the Pentagon, I believe it was Kirby and people in the Biden administration said the Afghan withdrawal that we all know was disastrous was a success. And that's a quote. They called that a success.
Thank you,
That
Egypt.
chaos is not a success. That is a nightmare. So let's stop namby-pambing around with this, oh, he was vetted. There was no vetted.
And in the moments following the attack, President Trump came out and said, look, we need to vet every single one of those Afghan nationals who came here in the chaos following what happened in August and throughout 2001. As a senator, how can our government accomplish that goal, or can they, Senator?
Well, I think several years ago when this was occurring, when the chaos of the exit, the abominable exit out of Afghanistan, we actually did present to a bill that would say these folks need to be vetted. We didn't know who they were. It was happening so fast. It was so chaotic. And this is the aftermath of what you see of poor policies, of poor of the inability to vet people, understanding that a country like Afghanistan, it would be difficult to vet people anyway because of the systems there. But we should have known. We should know who they are, and we should protect ourselves and others from this terrorist mentality that has been brought into our country by so many.
And you have to envision that it's not just the individuals from Afghanistan. The entire Biden administration, immigration, people coming into our country illegally, it happened chaotically on both borders and even not through our borders. So it's something we need to pay attention to. There's also the fact that your colleagues on the other side of the aisle have been engaging in inflammatory rhetoric for months following Donald Trump authorizing National Guards to visit and stay in not just Washington, D.C., but cities throughout our country. Let's take a listen to some of what they have said about National Guard troops in our cities.
I don't think you have an armed militia in the nation's capital.
The president is attempting to send the National Guard to send and terrorize cities.
Out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
Senator, what is your message to your Democrat colleagues when it comes to rhetoric on what our National Guard troops are doing in our cities?
Well, we've had National Guard troops in the capital city since August. The crime statistics are way down. Every single guard, I wonder if my colleagues ever walked around the city and talked to the Guard members who were there. These were folks who had volunteered for the service, had volunteered to serve our country. And basically what they were doing was freeing up and what they are doing is freeing up the Metropolitan Police in DC to be able to deal with the more criminal crime elements in the city, which were running rampant in the city. So I would question whether my colleagues ever took the time to stop at Union Station, talk to a West Virginia guardsman, and ask them, what are you seeing? How do you feel about this? What types of incidents have you had? There was no pulling out of weapons and weaponizing our National Guard. These were presents that were there to indicate to citizens to visitors, to dignitaries, to whoever's in the capital city, that peace is there and you're going to feel safe. And I reject this hyperbolic rhetoric that they put forward. I don't think they spent 1 minute talking to anybody in the streets of D.C.
Certainly a valid question. Before we let you go, we've talked about the policy aspect of this. There's certainly the human aspect. What are West Virginians doing to rally behind these two grieving families right now?
And you know, West Virginians are a strong bunch. Sarah went to a small school, Webster County High School. She lived in Summersville. These are very small communities who always wrap their arms around. I've seen so much on social media about the prayers and the warmth coming from those families. Andrew's went to Musselman High School from the Eastern Panhandle near Martinsburg. His classmates, his teachers, his counselors, his principal, his family have all been reaching out and trying to comfort one another. When this hits one West Virginian, it hits all, and particularly in service to our country.
And it's not just West Virginians praying for Andrew right now. It's the entire nation praying that he makes it through. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, thank you. We're praying for you.
All right, so there was some on the victims, guys. Here goes some more on the suspect.
Lochinwall was part of a Zero unit in Afghanistan, elite militias backed by the CIA. So let's take a closer look about what we know about these groups. First, these Zero units that were recruited by the CIA that are operating for specific elite counterterrorism units and missions come in this southern Afghanistan area, Kandahar being some of the fiercest fighting, Helmand province, Uruzgan. This is where Lochinwall is not only born and raised, but this is where he was stationed. His unit was out of the Kandahar region. Now let's talk about Lochinwall's vetting process. He did get some vetting. We had biometric screening, CIA did, biographic checks on interagency watch lists. The CIA looked to see if he had connections to any terrorist groups, and he had in-person interviews. So there was some vetting, but let's talk about his actual unit. He was assigned to NDS-03. That's a National Directorate of Security, which is Afghanistan's CIA, if you will, intelligence service. He was working for that when he was recruited and trained by the CIA to fight against the Taliban. But these units were operating outside the chain of command of U.S. and Afghan forces. That's significant. That suggests he may have seen some significant fighting in missions.
These are all facts on the
Zero
suspects,
units are known for their brutality. Some called them death squads. Let's bring in now Laura Burns, head of terrorism research program on extremism at George Washington University and former FBI supervisory special agent. Laura, we're learning a lot more about Lochinwall and the fact that he's part of this Zero unit, but yet we're also looking into how he makes it across the country to carry out this ambush. What are your thoughts this morning?
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it. Yes, this Mr. Lochinwall's pathway from Washington, D.C., it raises some interesting questions, right? Questions like, was Mr. Lochinwall already radicalized before he migrated to the United States? Did he come here with the intent to commit an act of terrorism when he found the opportunity? Or rather, did he migrate here with good intentions and for some reason become disaffected with society or fail to assimilate and then self-radicalize and then decide to mobilize with a target of opportunity? I think that as the investigation proceeds, FBI Director Kash Patel has said that they are looking at this as an act of terrorism, that facts will become available and help us determine exactly what his radicalization process was.
You know, Laura, FBI Director Kash Patel talked a little bit about Lochinwall's relationship with Afghanistan partner forces. Listen here.
There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. This individual is in this country for one reason and one reason alone, because of the disastrous withdrawal from the Biden administration and the failure to vet in any way, shape, or form. This individual and countless others, and this administration has taken the rightful step to stop any further allowance of people with this similar background into the country.
So, Laura, clearly Lockenwall ends up here because of his partnership with our U.S. forces, with the CIA. And it appears he did have vetting, as I just pointed out, but yet there are still links, weak links in this vetting process. Explain your sort of view of that.
Yes, I mean, the overall vetting process, if we're talking about the broader vetting process, it didn't just involve Mr. Lockenwall, because it does appear that he had some sort of vetting, was extremely complicated and chaotic. And, it really began with what I see as the intelligence community's failure to predict how quickly Kabul would fall. And because of that failure to understand what was going to ensue, there was a lack of preparation for what that evacuation process of our allies would actually look like and entail, and the challenges that they would face. And there were many challenges. We had hundreds of thousands of Afghan nationals who assisted our forces in various capacities and risked their lives. But the ability to vet individuals in that chaotic environment was extremely difficult because of the naming conventions that were in Afghanistan. Some individuals used first name only. There were lacks of date of birth. There were lacks of identification documents. And so when you're talking about thousands of people fleeing violence and flooding onto planes, we weren't prepared to vet it.
It's a great point. It's a great point, Laura. I just want to, get to this quickly, and that is now President Trump is calling for a re-scrutiny of the vetting of those who came here. It's possible Lockenwall came here with good intentions and became radicalized here in the past 4 years. So can we accomplish the process of re-vetting a lot of these individuals that were brought here? Will that work?
I think it's necessary. It's necessary for the protection of our national security, because at the end of the day, especially in those first months, when we had thousands of people migrating here, the U.S. government was not prepared to properly vet. The vetting was minimal. And I think it is necessary, because although a number of individuals migrated here who sacrificed their lives for our government, there were individuals who were not properly vetted that likely have nefarious intent here. Yep. And I think a re-scrutinizing of the vetting process is necessary.
We'll see where it goes. Laura Burns, thank you for taking time this morning.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earl.
All right, you know what I'm saying? So there was some more on the suspect. Here goes a little bit more, guys. Check this out.
News alert now. America is mourning one of the West Virginia National Guardsmen shot on Wednesday, just blocks away from the White House. President Trump announcing the tragic news that 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has passed away. 24-year-old Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. This is the Faulkner Focus. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas in for Harris today. D.C.'s emergency responders paid respects to Sarah Beckstrom last night with a dignified transfer of her body from the hospital to the medical examiner. President Trump, meantime, speaking out about those victims last night.
She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. The other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him.
Reactions pouring in for Beckstrom. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey says, quote, Sarah served with courage, extraordinary resolve, and an unwavering sense of duty to her state and to her nation. We mourn the loss of a young woman who gave everything she had in defense of others. Attorney General Pam Bondi writes this, please pray for Sarah's family. America will never forget her courage. The suspected shooter, meantime, is an Afghan national. He entered the U.S. under a Biden-era humanitarian parole program. U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, announcing she has upgraded his charges to first-degree murder and promising a thorough investigation and justice.
There will be no stone unturned in this case. We will know everything about what happened. We have pretty much every agency, every investigative agency in this country involved right now around the clock. The intent and the determination of the men and women that I was working with and I spent the night with around the clock in Washington is very clear. We will know everything we need to know.
Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker joins me in a moment, but first we're going to go to Mark Meredith, who joins us live in Washington with the very latest on this. Hey, Mark.
Julie, good morning to you. Prosecutors are calling this a case of premeditated murder, and as you mentioned, the feds are planning to seek the death penalty. So far, though, investigators have yet to say publicly what they think may have motivated the suspect to drive cross country and carry out this attack. The area where the shooting took place has reopened as the investigation now shifts to the suspect's past. He's married, believed to have 5 kids. The FBI says the investigation expands beyond just this country. That's because the man who came to the U.S. from Afghanistan in 2021 previously worked with the U.S. government, including the CIA in Kandahar. President Trump appeared to indicate he believed the suspect may have mental health issues.
U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts, and that happens.
The New York Times spoke to a childhood friend who asked to be identified only as Muhammad because he feared Taliban reprisals, said that the suspect suffered from mental health issues and was disturbed by the casualties his unit had caused. Tributes continue to pour in for the 2 victims of the attack, identified as 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who, as you mentioned, passed away overnight, and the U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who remains in critical condition. Today, West Virginia's governor says his state's going to hold a moment of silence to honor both of their services. That'll be in the 2 o'clock hour. The governor says he's also going to still send people, resources to the nation's capital, like these 2 heroes, to assist with the president's goal, Julie, to make the district a safer place. Julie.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark Meredith. Nicole Parker, Fox News contributor and former FBI special agent, joins me now. It's no surprise first-degree murder charges is the obvious choice. There are going to be many more charges, though, down the pipeline. Where do you believe this investigation stands? Because this is not just a statewide investigation. This is a nationwide investigation, and quite frankly, should be a worldwide investigation, considering he came from Afghanistan under the Biden administration and was in this country for 4 years before carrying out this brazen and weak attack.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to offer my condolences to Sarah's family. She is a true American hero. I don't know if people understand this, but she came voluntarily on Thanksgiving to serve when a lot of people wanted to be with their families. And that to me is true heroism. And she was unnecessarily, in a heinous crime, shot and killed in the line of duty. And we will never forget her service, and we will honor and respect her always. One thing that I feel very strongly about and confident about is that Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and the U.S. Attorney Pirro, no stone will be left unturned. And I can tell you, if there's one person that I would want charging my case, it would be Judge Pirro. She means business, and she will ensure that justice is served. That is what she deserves. That's what our country deserves. But I think you're exactly right. This is not just a U.S. case. This broadens into the worldwide spectrum because he allegedly had been, working with the CIA in the past. And let me just tell you, it wouldn't be the first time that someone may have been helping the United States in the past and then turns against us and harms our own people. So we need to be very, very concerned about that. That is very, very alarming. But again, looking back at the entire vetting process in general of what occurred back in 2021, I myself was at the FBI. I can tell you firsthand that the Biden administration dropped the ball. First of all, this catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan never should have occurred. But then they turned to the FBI and said, look, we need FBI agents and analysts to volunteer to go over to these foreign countries. I know several agents myself that I've been in contact with who are very good friends of mine. They went to Doha and Qatar, and they can tell me, and I will tell you firsthand, a direct quote, I worked that mission. Those people weren't vetted, period. Those are people that were on the ground level working the investigation, vetting these individuals. They were seeing red flags. The DOD contractors were partnered up with FBI agents. They were sounding the alarm on potential threats, and they were being ignored. And the Biden administration and the State Department were saying, let them come in.
Yeah, I was speaking with Art Del Cueto yesterday. Jeanine Pirro just echoed it once again, that the vetting process is a complete joke. Bagram Air Force Base was a disaster. The pullout out of Afghanistan was a disaster. And people were actually vetted, according to Art Del Cueto. He told me by fingerprints. They would do a handprint or a fingerprint. If they weren't already in the system, they were let in. That is not a background check. That is not vetting. And what happened for the last 4 years? Why weren't they followed up upon? These people were allowed to come into this country legally and then let free. And now you have to imagine the amount of people that are still in this country who have not been followed up upon. Where are they?
Julie, you are exactly right. It is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. We do not know who is in our country. And those that think, Mayorkas gets out there and says, oh, yes, everyone was vetted. Mayorkas, either you're turning a blind eye to the facts or people are not telling you the truth because they were not vetted. That is not true information. And now we are sitting ducks in the United States of America. I know people that left because of the service that they gave in the aftermath of 9/11. And all of that work for 20 years that we did to keep our country safe, they blew it overnight.
And by the way, as far as Mayorkas is concerned, there were 120,000 people that were evacuated out of Afghanistan. Over 60,000 came here into the United States. Point blank, when Mayorkas was asked by a reporter, how many people have you vetted? He said he didn't know. So he didn't know because they weren't vetted. A retired FBI agent, meantime, who investigated terrorism, is now speaking out about the investigation into the shooting suspect. Let's listen to that.
Did he migrate here with good intentions and for some reason become disaffected with society or fail to assimilate and then self-radicalize and then decide to mobilize with a target of opportunity? I think that as the investigation proceeds, FBI Director Kash Patel has said that they are looking at this as an act of terrorism, that facts will become available and help us determine exactly what his radicalization process was.
The president is now putting a stop and a halt to all third world countries of immigrants coming into this country until they're able to, number one, track down all the ones that are already here. But the fact of the matter is this suspect was here for 4 years. He obviously radicalized. We don't know if it was self-radicalization. We don't know a motive, but we obviously know he was out to kill and get back in America, who then helped his country. It's disgusting, but what needs to be done in order to track down those that did sneak in under the Biden administration legally?
It's a very daunting task, and bless President Trump and his administration, because what they have walked into is an absolute disaster zone. They're basically being asked, hey, go find the people that came into our country that shouldn't even be here. And we're not just talking about Afghanistan. Several agents and I have been talking. It was the southern border as well. We have millions of people here that we don't know. And when you say that you're vetting someone, how do you vet someone when you don't even know their name? How do you vet someone when they come from a primitive country like Afghanistan? They don't even know their true date of birth. Everyone would say January 1st and then make up a date. How do you vet someone when there's no derogatory information in the system to compare them to? Anyone that believes that, I'm sorry, I'm not fear mongering. I am speaking the truth. We have a major problem on our hands, and they are doing their best. That's why they have ICE out there trying to get out these terrorists and violent criminals from our country. And then Democrats are up in arms about the fact that we're trying to make our country safe. If they didn't learn anything from this catastrophic murder of this fine young woman who was out serving our country, it is time to wake up.
I need to also add, not only did he have connections to the CIA and the military, but he actually started working in Afghanistan with these connections at the age of 15. Why? He lied about his age. You have to be at least 18 years old to actually get involved with the military in Afghanistan. He was, in fact, 15. So they didn't catch on to that lie, a very simple lie to figure out. Of course, they wouldn't figure out that he had ill intentions for this country when they let him in. Nicole Parker, thank you very much for talking to us today.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey,
so that was that on that aspect. Now they key in on a motive, guys. They're trying to find a motive behind why this guy did what he did.
2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. is now facing a first-degree murder charge after one of the soldiers died. Investigators executed a search warrant at the suspect's apartment in Bellingham, Washington State, about 80 miles north of Seattle Thursday. The Afghan national served with a CIA-backed unit during the Afghanistan war. Authorities are still searching for a motive behind Wednesday's ambush-style attack. 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom died from her injuries. 24-year-old U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. Nicole Skanga is following the investigation. Nicole, good morning.
Good morning, Lindsay. Intelligence analysts are combing through the suspect's digital footprint for any signs of foreign influence or radicalization. So far, sources tell CBS News there have been no confirmed links to extremist networks. The suspect remains in the hospital on a ventilator, which is creating challenges for investigators trying to probe him for information.
New video of the ambush shows the suspected gunman raise his revolver as a National Guard member sprints down the street. Seconds later, returning fire.
Somebody drove across the country, came to Washington, D.C. to attack America.
Officials tell CBS News the 29-year-old suspect carried that gun, registered to a deceased man in Washington state, thousands of miles cross-country. 29-year-old Rahmanullah Lochinwal served for 8 years on a CIA-backed Zero Unit, a paramilitary force fighting the Taliban. U.S. and Afghan officials tell CBS News he suffered from PTSD as a result of his experiences.
There are certainly many more charges to come.
The suspect now faces first-degree murder charges. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey.
I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are very, very angry about what's happened, and they want to make sure that justice is done. And
Do you believe the death penalty should be pursued?
look, I think when people commit the most grievous of crimes, that the death penalty should always be on the table.
CBS News has obtained this photo taken when the alleged gunman first entered the U.S. in 2021 through a Biden-era program dubbed Operation Allies Welcome. But he was granted asylum last April. In Washington, dozens of emergency vehicles processed downtown, carrying the body of 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom in the pre-dawn hours Friday, as National Guardsmen line the streets to salute one of their own.
It's a tragedy.
Marcy Vaughn worked with Beckstrom at a West Virginia behavioral health center.
Her coworkers will tell you that she had a great sense of humor. She liked to laugh.
Beckstrom's father, Gary, mourned her passing on social media, writing, "My baby girl has passed to glory."
I'm trying to send a message that West Virginians are going to stand strong behind the Guard, behind these families, and behind these people, these brave, courageous, young men and women.
As the state grieves a national tragedy.
Governor Morrisey also told us that Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is fighting for his life. The governor would not rule out sending more guardsmen to Washington, D.C., but says right now he's focused on the families, Vlad.
Yeah, and sending prayers to both of those families. Nicole Skanga for us in Washington. Thanks, Nicole.
All right. They are investigating the motive, guys. Let's go here.
And our people. We also have this coming in from Fox and Friends right here, as we heard from West Virginia Representative Riley Moore, who provided an update on the wounded National Guard member Andrew Wolf, who we know had been listed in critical condition at last check. Moore saying, quote, "Please keep praying. This is a family that is committed to service, not only to the great state of West Virginia, but this country," end quote. We're going to head to a quick break now at 9:16 on the East Coast and 6:16 on the West Coast. You're watching. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 9:18 on the East Coast and 6:18 on the West Coast. Thank you so much for being with us here on this Saturday morning.
Thank you.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to guide you through all of your top stories, live events, and breaking news from across the country and across the world. Right now, I do want to take you out to a story that we are following out of the area of San Jose, California. Take a look at your screen as all at
No, you're not.
Case that happened.
No, we ain't on
of
that.
10 victims and
Where did what I was looking for go to? Hold on.
It does not want to negotiate in good faith at this stage.
That's not what I'm looking
I want to
for.
talk about Trump and Putin when they met over in Alaska. We learning from President Trump, not necessarily connected, but he did post this on Truth Social, so I wanted to read it.
That's not what I'm looking for. Hold on. Let's go here.
Assistant Director, and Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE Director and former federal prosecutor. Jonathan, tonight there's a lot of questions about vetting. How this guy got into the United States. President Trump addressed it yesterday. Let's watch.
U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens too. It happens too often with these people.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? You're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now.
You got to love President Trump. Are you a stupid person? To the reporter. But, Jonathan, we're talking about this vetting. He went through intense vetting. The CIA senior officials said that he also was checked through the National Counterterrorism Center as well. He was clean on all checks. The group that helped resettle Afghan allies said that he underwent multiple rounds of vetting before he was granted asylum in April. But yet he shot 2 National Guards members. So what can you tell us about this vetting? Is it efficient enough?
Well, just as a
Trump
whole,
said he
the
went
vetting they were
cuckoo.
doing was wholly inadequate. They were just basically running names through databases and things like that. They weren't doing substantive interviews. And there's a clip of Alejandro Mayorkas that he's been talking to. They've been playing a lot today on Fox, where he's talking about how they didn't interview people. Remember, they brought in 190,000 people after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. So there's no way you can vet any of these people. And it's also important to know what was going on in the country at the time. Biden had the border opened, so much of the resources were dealt with processing migrants at the border, so there just weren't enough really to do any meaningful vetting. And really the default should be, and should have been, if you can't vet someone thoroughly enough, they don't come in. We should put American safety ahead of the interest of migrants, illegal aliens, or anything else. And the Biden administration never did that, not a single time during the entire administration.
But see, Chris, what makes me worried is, this guy went through more vetting than the millions of people who came here under the Biden administration. We had a record number of people on the terror watch list that were, apprehended at the southern border. So how many terrorists are in the United States right now?
Well, I'd say there are quite a few. I mean, I would call that reporter's attention to the 4 Inspector General reports that I just read that called out the inadequate vetting. They even called out the fact that DHS would issue identification to someone who's self-identified. That means they came into this country with no identification whatsoever on them. Now, that had to be by design. I would be most suspicious of those individuals. But yet the IG verified that they issued them documents and let them travel inside the country and come inside the country and then travel wherever they wanted to go. So a lot of us called this out, Jonathan included, back during the Biden administration, when all these people were streaming across the border, and asylum was the program that was abused the most, in my opinion. All you had to do was say, come up with some, just some of the jargon that they've read in some of the paperwork that regarding asylum. They just spit it out, and they were granted entry into the country under some conditional basis. So that was a huge gaping hole in our national security, and it remains to this day. I mean, we said there'll be hell to pay, and we're paying for it right now.
But Jonathan, President Trump's trying to do something about it. He's trying to pause the visa issuance for individuals traveling on Afghan passports. He's also pledged to permanently pause migration from third world countries. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said it's also going to re-examine green cards issued to individuals who have migrated from at least 19 different countries. But as we've seen time and time again, Jonathan, the courts keep trying to stop him. So, can this stuff make its way through the courts, or will it get stopped?
Yeah, he will have to fight every inch of the way. But the great thing about it is he's determined to fight this out. And if you really think about what he just announced today, it's totally common sense. Third world countries, and it's not to disparage third world countries, but there's no way to meaningfully vet people coming from these countries. And President Trump knows our immigration system should be designed to benefit Americans. And if you can't show that a migrant coming in benefits our country and doesn't pose a safety risk, they shouldn't come in. And again, like Chris was saying, with the abused asylum system under Biden, where they actually essentially encouraged people to falsely claim asylum because they knew there wasn't some widespread torture or persecution going on in our hemisphere, but they shepherded in 10 million people, and now we are going to reap the consequences in a bad way for years to come. And I hate saying it, but there's going to be more of these situations where we're going to be here, and we were all saying it back then, but it didn't matter because the Biden administration, their highest priority was shepherding in as many migrants and illegal aliens as they could because they thought that would benefit them politically, and they put the safety, national security secondary to their political agenda.
It's political. And then, we're also told as well that it's about empathy. This individual came here under Operation Allies Welcome. A neighbor in the neighborhood where the suspect lives said it's a very liberal neighborhood. They're very welcoming. You had a lot of these Afghan refugees living there, Chris. So is that empathy going to get Americans killed?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, the fact that this person worked with a unit that worked with the CIA doesn't impress me one bit. Many of those individuals are pure mercenaries. Many of them played both sides of the fence for their own reasons. And we're talking about a place that is a hotbed of terrorism. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, any number of other terrorist organizations. So, we don't know what this guy's loyalties are, and we don't know what his mental state is. And, we're not hearing anything about his motivation, but I can pretty much guarantee you when it comes out that he was angry at the United States, angry at this country that sheltered him, and that's why he did what he did. So, and maybe even groomed by other people outside the country. So, empathy is great. These people, the people that truly did help us, deserve asylum. But trying to vet as many as Jonathan said, there's 70,000, whatever the number is, 160,000, so quickly is impossible to do, especially from a country that has no records of anything.
Although it seems like suicidal empathy. Jonathan, we want to get your quick reaction to this because we just learned that the Trump administration is pausing all asylum decisions until they can ensure that every alien is vetted and screened. Your reaction to that, sir?
That's a great idea because we already know they weren't vetted properly. So let's do a thorough vetting. And it's a privilege to come to this country. And if we can't vet someone or have a high degree of confidence that they are going to not commit an act of terrorism or an act of violence, they should be gone. And empathy, like you're saying, empathy is one thing, but public safety goes first, and the Biden administration and the Democrats have used the empathy card to manipulate people into policies that are bad for Americans, bad for public safety, bad for national security.
Yep. Chris and Jonathan, thank you for breaking that down for us. We appreciate you both. Thank you. Joining me now is West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. So we've got to get to that in just a moment, Governor, and it's great to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
I'm so sorry for these guardsmen and for your state right
terrible.
now. I just want to get an update on Andrew Wolf. How's he doing? I know you spent
Wolf
yesterday
is still fighting for his life
family.
at this time, guys.
I will say that all of our hearts and prayers in West Virginia are going out to the Wolf family. And we have a hero here in West Virginia. This person, everyone loved him. He was courageous. And right now he's fighting for his life. He's in very serious condition. I'm not going to play doctor and opine on what's going to happen, but everyone needs to step up and pray for this individual. The parents are welcoming prayers. They only had one request from me, Lisa. It was send as many prayers as possible to help lift him up, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, so folks at home, make sure that you pray for Andrew Wolf and his family as well, because it's not how they wanted to spend Thanksgiving, so we pray for them. Now, Governor, I got to get to what we heard at the intro. I mean, the Democrats here on the left, they're trying to blame President Trump. They're saying the National Guard shouldn't have been here in Washington, D.C. When you hear that, what do you think?
Well, first of all, it's outrageous, and it shows a level of disrespect to the people that put their lives on the line every single day. So I want to make sure people understand what we're dealing with here. Right now in the district, there are about 160 to 170 West Virginia National Guardsmen, and they're here on a voluntary basis. That means that they sign up for the mission of protecting the city. They believed in the mission. They want to support their state. They want to support their country. And by the way, the mission is working. By all accounts, crime is way down in D.C., and the guardsmen will tell you, by and large, that what they're doing is working. When people see law enforcement officers walking around, when they see National Guardsmen walking around, they welcome it. They want safety. That's what the fundamental of government is about. Protect your people. They were protecting people. And for folks to try to point them out and somehow give them some responsibility of what happened, that's outrageous. That's politics that needs to be rejected. But that's what we've seen coming from the left in recent years. But now we have to say absolutely not. What President Trump is doing is he's cleaning up from the Biden border disorder that we saw. And when I was Attorney General, Lisa, I used to sue over those policies all the time. But there's a lot of leftovers. And I think what you saw the president do today in terms of the vetting policies and the announcement on the visas, those are good things to do because we have to have dramatic action to make sure this kind of absurd violence never happens again.
We've seen, the people on the left, obviously they're furious with what President Trump's doing in some of these cities. We've seen the attacks on ICE. We've seen sort of this rhetoric. It seems like if you wear a badge or a uniform, you're subject of attack from the left. Are they putting our National Guardsmen in a dangerous position here with some of the rhetoric?
Look, I just saw some of the clips here, and it really looks like they're pointing a finger at them and saying these people are part responsible. Once again, these are volunteers. These people believe in the cause. And how could any right-minded person not believe that it's right to clean up a city? I mean, the statistics are so clear of how crime is going down. But I think there's something broader here. When you look at what the left tried to do with the defund the police movement, and they wanted to make it so difficult to be in law enforcement. Now they want to make it so difficult to be in the National Guard. They want to make it so difficult to be one of the troops defending our country with honor. We're not going to let them do that. When the evildoers come at us, we have to stand up and say, no, that's what we're doing in West Virginia.
Yeah, and they're telling us, first of all, D.C. wasn't dangerous and they should have never been there. Right. And then now we put them in a dangerous position. And it's like, well, which one is it? So, but we're praying for your state. We're praying for those guardsmen. We're praying for Andrew Wolf that he's going to pull through, Governor. So thank you for being us
here
tonight and
Appreciate
updating us. Thank you, sir.
Terror striking on the eve of Thanksgiving. President Trump is vowing an immigration crackdown after a horrific attack in D.C., a permanent pause on migration from third world countries. It comes after 2 National Guard members were ambushed while on patrol near the White House. Right now, charges against the Afghan national accused of shooting them have been upgraded to first-degree murder after 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her injuries. And the other victim, Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, is fighting for his life while in critical condition. He is 24. The pure evil suspect accused of doing this allegedly drove across the country, then laid in wait for hours before opening fire. And now troubling questions are being raised about his vetting after it was revealed that he entered the United States in 2021 under Biden's Operation Allied Welcome program during America's chaotic exit from Afghanistan. Trump giving the media a photographic refresher of the chaos.
I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And this atrocity reminds us that we have no greater national security priority than ensuring that we have full control over the people that enter and remain in our country.
President Trump then scolding a reporter for asking this question.
U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens too. It happens too often with these people.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? You're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now.
And right on cue, the left is seemingly blaming Trump for the tragedy because he deployed the National Guard to D.C. The New Yorker's Jane Mayer tweeting, "This is so tragic, so unnecessary. These poor guardsmen should never have been deployed. I live in D.C. and watched as they had virtually nothing to do but pick up trash. It was for political show, and at what a cost." And others are weighing in.
The uniform is politics extended into the public space.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, 2 West Virginia National Guard soldiers who had nothing to do with this person, they did not ask to be deployed in this way, and their military members, by and large, want to be left out of the politics.
Those 2 families are going to be sitting at home saying, should they have been there in the first place?
The president looks everywhere except inward to blame his own policies. We need to make sure that we don't have our military deployed in our cities. It's never the president's fault or his policies when it comes to his reaction, and it's pretty disgusting.
It's such a shame, Paul, that immediately the knee-jerk reaction from the liberal left is one to blame the president, whose only goal and only priority has been the safety of Americans. He did not politicize uniforms. He recognized that the uniforms stand for only the flag.
Yeah, it didn't take long, did it? A couple of things here. First of all, this is like blaming aspirin for your headache, right? Because he's putting them out there to try to deter crime. And the thing that they never talk about is that it's working. And there's nothing funnier to me than when the left decides all of a sudden that they are in support of the people in uniform. You know, they're nuancing this here. It took the New York Times about 5 seconds to come up with the line that the reason he did this is because he lost his mind because of what we exposed him to in Afghanistan. So implicitly, it's our fault. Look, let's just expand the story real quick. First of all, this is going to go to a death penalty case. It's likely going to be terrorism. So we'll see how it runs. Let's get that part out of the way. Secondly here, we are in a post-interventionist world. That's really, for me, the lesson here, okay? The world is very, very small. We need to learn that we can go into these nations, and we had to after 9/11, all right? We have to recognize the Taliban had incubated Al-Qaeda, UBL was there, we had to go in. We go in, we want to break things and kill the people that killed our people, and then that's it, all right? Otherwise, don't get involved, because what do we get for it other than blame? And so we can't go in and try to fix everything. This is not post-World War II America. You can't run, we don't have that. Every nation in history that has failed, any empire, and we're not an empire, we're not looking to take places over and make them part of America. But that said, history teaches us they've all failed because of overreach. We're not going to run Afghanistan into a democracy. They don't have the infrastructure. And as for vetting goes, that's the point. You can't go into a place that's operating in the 7th century and say, you know what, we vetted these people. You don't know who you're talking to. This is the guy's second cousin. He wants this guy to go to America because he wants the checks to come back. I've seen this. He wants the check to go back home where his checks from wherever he's working can support an entire village. So you can't vet these guys. There's no computers. There's no central database. The point is you can't do it. And so as a result, we shouldn't do it. And we have to recognize it's time to retrench at home. I'm not saying Fortress America. You have to be engaged. The world is too small. But once you get involved here, all we get is blame. And we end up in situations like this because the plum we hold out is if you help us in country, we'll bring you here. That's the carrot that everybody around the world wants. They want to be here. And when we do that, we put ourselves in this position.
And Charlie, all right, let's look at what we inherited. So to Paul's point, it was difficult to vet. Well, the Biden administration didn't even give it a decent shot whatsoever. I spoke with Jessica Vaughn, who said it wasn't Operation Allies Welcome. It was Operation Everyone Welcome. Yeah. The whole point was that there was a not even attempt to recognize that our real allies needed to be here. And clearly we let in an unimaginable number of ones who shouldn't. And even if there's just one, that one is the one that engaged in murder. So the question is, to Paul's point, though, you know, the biggest challenge is not only the sheer volume, but also the fact that we're dealing with a lack of veracity on any front. We don't know the real names. We don't have a type of authority that we can count on to double check anything. So we now have inherited potentially an incendiary device that is still within our country in the form of thousands of individuals.
Yeah, it's not like the Taliban has a database that we're going to use to identify who's safe to come into our country and who's not. I don't know what is worse, whether you let 70,000 people, which is about how many people we had come in under this program, into the country without vetting them, or having maybe vetted them and they let this guy into the country. I don't know which is worse. I think they're both really bad. On a political point, I think that Democrats are in a real bind here trying to blame Trump for this, because it's pretty cold solace to say, well, you know, they had it coming because they were deployed. Well, I mean, are you kidding me? Are you going to actually make that argument in front of voters? And do you think that that's a winning argument? I don't think it is. I think every single one of the people that has been deployed, including these two service members, they've saved lives. If you look at the statistics in D.C., in Chicago, and we can have a great debate about whether or not we should use military soldiers to enforce laws in these cities, and that's a fine debate to have. But you can't deny that every single one of those people walking around has managed to save lives the places where they have been deployed. There are a lot of questions looking forward, and these are the things that I'm most concerned about. Is there going to be a thorough vetting now that we recognize that the vetting either didn't work or they didn't do it? Also, this guy was living, according to the New York Post, in a $2,000 a month apartment, speaking very poor English at best, playing video games. What was he doing? Yeah. Did he have a job? Are taxpayers the ones that are on the hook for paying for his rent and paying? What else were we paying for? I want to get to the bottom of all of that.
Yeah. And Kat, I wanted to ask you about, so we've talked about the blame game that people are blaming the president, but there was also a really disheartening amount of sitting senators and others who were blaming National Guardsmen. We had Dick Durbin saying that National Guardsmen were terrorizing U.S. cities. Alyssa Slotkin saying that they were going to shoot Americans. Is that kind of rhetoric potentially what leads to someone taking a gun all the way across the country and taking it out on National Guardsmen?
Well, this is what politicians always do, right? And this man who did this was obviously evil. I believe President Trump called him an animal. I think that's the perfect word for him. I think just widening out, I would like to see accountability. Overall, I think that there's a huge lack of accountability, particularly, I mean, in this specific instance, mistakes were made. You know, this guy was not just here. He was at one point being paid by the United States government. Who signed off on that? Do they still have a job? Probably, but they probably shouldn't. And I see this as just one small piece of decades of things that have gone wrong in Afghanistan that there's been no accountability for. While we were over there, then of course this disastrous joke of a withdrawal. As all of you guys know, my husband fought in Afghanistan. That was a very, very difficult time for him and for a lot of the other people who were over there. And we have this. So when it comes to this stuff, I would like to see less of a politically motivated kind of blame game of, well, it was this side did this and this, and an actual real search for actual accountability. Because we have people who make mistake after mistake that costs lives and people die. And the people responsible keep their jobs. And not only do they keep their jobs, we don't even know who they are half the time. And this is going back decades and decades. I don't have a lot of hope of this ever happening because people get so lost in the politics of it all. But I, for one, am disgusted. And I think that we are long owed some answers on this stuff.
Yeah. And for me, the vehicle of the lack or driving the train toward lack of accountability is in large part the mainstream media. Just today, Reuters saying the president claims without evidence that the vetting program did not work. Isn't the evidence Sarah Beckstrom?
Absolutely. And can we talk about her for a second?
Please.
20 years old. She joined the military police with the hopes of having a career in the FBI. Her former boyfriend, Adam Carr, described her as a caring and tender-hearted woman. She was known to enjoy nature, road trips, spending time with her family. She was not eager at first to go to D.C. and be a part of the troops patrolling, but she said that she started to like it. She was using her time to visit museums and memorials and making the most of her new environment. 20 years old and gone.
And notice, the judge in D.C. comes down and says, I know she stayed the order, but she said, these are illegal deployments. Notice she didn't say, oh, you know what? Alyssa Slotkin told me I can disobey this. Right. She was out there.
Right.
Right. Oh, just tragic.
Let's bring in now Republican New York Congressman Mike Lawler, a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, good to have you. You know, the president might be right. Maybe this guy went cuckoo after he was vetted not once, but presumably twice when he received asylum this year. Maybe there's something that happened and he snapped. We will wait to find out if we can actually talk to him. But I want to play for you this sound right now because the questions about vetting are incredibly serious. There are so many more people that came, and we saw those pictures of them packed in those planes. And we really don't understand completely what this vetting process was like. This is Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the former Secretary of Homeland Security, at a hearing with the Senate, trying to explain to a senator what he does and maybe doesn't know about the vetting of these people. Watch.
How many of them were vetted before they got on the plane?
Out of Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Cannot speak to that.
Are you telling this committee under oath that 99% of the people who got on these planes in Afghanistan were vetted by our government before they got on that plane?
I want to be very clear because precision...
Because you're not.
No. Senator, if I may, you are asking me about planes from transit countries, the third countries.
I'm talking about people got on the plane in Kabul airport.
No, I can't speak to that.
I mean, that doesn't spark confidence to anybody that's watching that. So when Congress returns next week, should you hold hearings and investigations into what this vetting was?
Well, there's no question that the Biden administration created a crisis on multiple fronts, starting with the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan that not only left Afghan allies on the ground, but left Americans on the ground, and then took people into the country that clearly were not vetted in their entirety. And that, of course, preceded the disaster at our southern border, in which they let in over 10.5 million migrants, completely unvetted. I can tell you from my time visiting the border, if they couldn't identify somebody through 4 databases, they simply gave them the name that they said they were. It was a complete debacle at every level. And so the Trump administration obviously has come in and tried to clean up our immigration system. They have effectively secured the border and stopped the massive influx of illegal immigration. But you have over 10.5 million people that came into this country in the last 4 years, including those who came from Afghanistan. And there's no way the Biden administration was doing an effective job of vetting them. That much is clear. Now, with that being said, one of the things that I have been very clear about, though, is that you have people that did help us on the ground in Afghanistan that were critical to our success and to that of our men and women in the military. And you don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater here. There has to be a process. We want to make sure that everybody is very clearly vetted, that they meet the strictest of requirements. But I want to stress, you cannot cast aspersions on every single person that came from Afghanistan, because there were a lot of people who did help us during that 20-year war.
And you're right.
And if they go back to Afghanistan, they're going to be killed.
And there were many Republicans in the House and Senate that were trying to get these people out of that country. I remember that. But I want to ask you, because you said the process has to change, and the Trump administration is trying to change that process. They want to re-vet everybody, all these green card holders. Do they even have the manpower to do that? And when we're talking about a heavy lift, and I remember we barely had people to get, the SIV applicants, that process going. We barely had people to adjudicate the asylum claims down at the southern border. Does Congress need to allocate emergency funds here to help this administration do what they want to do?
Well, in the Working Families Tax Cut Act, we did increase funding for Border Patrol, for immigration and customs officials, and for USCIS. And so obviously there is a lot of work that has to be done to go through the, over 10.5 million people that came into this country, most of them illegally, many of the people coming without a comprehensive vetting, and the Biden administration releasing people from all around the globe into the U.S. This has created the crisis that the administration is trying to unwind. And so, yes, we need to extend resources. If the administration needs Congress through the appropriations process to extend more resources to build up manpower, then we're going to have to do that to make sure that our communities are safe and that our National Guard members are not put in jeopardy like this.
Yeah, this cannot happen again. It's been atrocious to watch the last 48 hours. Congressman Mike Lawler, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
All right, guys. So that was, hold on, my bad. So that was pretty much, everything that I was able to find on this situation up till now, guys. Sarah, she passed away, the female National Guard member, she passed away. Andrew Wolf is still fighting for his life at this time. The suspected gunman, Mr. Raymond Noodle, basically he is on life support. And he could be facing an upgraded charge of murder, guys, for his part that he played and the unaliving, or the shooting, whichever one you want to call it, of those 2 National Guard troops, guys. West Virginia mayor basically spoke out about the situation, and he most definitely had his feelings. They held a visual for Sarah, who was only 20 years old, by the way. Let me say that as well. 20 years old, guys. Life just started, basically life taken in the blink of an eye, man. Very, very sad situation, man. Prayers for both families, man. We find out that the gunman basically worked for the CIA at one point, in Afghanistan. I thought that was the craziest thing of all, that he actually worked for the CIA. And then, basically he came to the Americas, overstayed his visa. They say he wasn't properly vetted, which is like, his background and things of that nature looked into. He wasn't particularly looked into as much as they feel like he should. As he should have. And a lot of people blame Trump, saying things like, basically, if Trump wouldn't have sent the guards to D.C., then this would have never happened. A lot of people are saying, hey, man, it comes with the job. Anytime you're a part of any kind of military or a police officer or anything of that nature, that sometimes on the job things happen. But whether you blame Trump, you don't blame Trump, a tragic situation most definitely took place. A young lady lost her life. That's sad. Real talk. Once again, prayers for her family. 20 years old. That just blew my mind, y'all. And the gunman is going to have to pay the price one way or the other. He's most definitely on a ventilator right now, they said, a.k.a. life support. So if he pulls through, he'll have to pay for his actions, and even if he don't, it looks like he's still gonna pay for his actions, man. It's sad, y'all. But that was the update on the 2 National Guard members who were shot in the head by a .357 Magnum carried by a madman in Washington, D.C., guys. That's all I have for y'all right now. I hope y'all enjoy the live stream as well as getting the facts and what people thought about it and hearing what people had to say about this whole situation. If you have not double tapped that screen, most definitely take time to do that now. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click those 3 dots in the right hand corner, hit the thumbs up. That's another way of hitting the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you have not. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Shout out to everybody that viewed this content, man. It's crazy, man. Wow. Man, look, Thanksgiving just passed. Be thankful for the little things. Be thankful for the time that you have with your family. Appreciate your family. Acknowledge your family, because at the same time, there's people out there, who didn't get to celebrate Thanksgiving and didn't get to be around their family. And that's just crazy, man. But anyways, shout out to the new subscribers. Shout out to the old subscribers. Shout out to all of my members. We most definitely have memberships available on this channel. There's plenty of other members-only content on this channel. So if you like what you get, make sure, you take time, if you can afford it, to grab one of those. It ain't but $4.99. The same price as a bag of chips, man, at the end of the day. But yeah, man, there's plenty of content and members only, and plenty of content on this channel. Feel free to go back, if you subscribe to the channel, and look at any other videos that I have posted, man. Shout out to my moderators. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, for making sure that this chat runs smooth like it should be. Most definitely are grateful for y'all. So until the next time I see y'all make sure that y'all stay safe out there. Yeah, man, this is the perfect ending spot, and if anything else happens to come across me, I'll most definitely present it to y'all. Y'all have a great day, man. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. And with that being said, I'm gone, y'all. Enjoy y'all day. I'll catch y'all later.